Good evening from Washington. I'm Jacob Soboroff in for Chris Hayes tonight. The upshot of four major decisions handed down by the Supreme Court today is that Donald Trump is still somewhat accountable for his conduct as president of the United States. It is the end of the Supreme Court term, and justices are about to stop working for the summer. And today, the court let a lower ruling stand that found Donald Trump liable for sexually abusing and defaming writer E. Jean Carroll. A jury had ordered him to pay her $5 million civil judgment. Trump appealed, and today the Supreme Court declined to hear it. Now he must pay. The court also voted 5-4 to block Trump from immediately firing Lisa Cook, the first black woman to serve on the Federal Reserve Board. And today, the financial markets watched that case closely, worrying that Trump would install a Fed board to manipulate interest rates for him. But instead, the Supreme Court said Cook can keep her job while she sues the Trump administration for wrongful termination. In a separate ruling, the court's 6 conservatives voted to grant Trump new sweeping powers to fire the heads of other government agencies without cause, overturning nearly 100 years of precedent set by the Supreme Court in 1935. We're going to have much more for you on that decision in just a few minutes. But while Trump continues to treat the federal government as his personal plaything, it is still not entirely his, not as long as he and his party can be voted out of office. So he is doing everything that he can to make that harder. Of course, if you remember 2020, that is not something new. Even after the votes were cast, Trump cried fraud, claiming there were thousands of illegitimate votes. This is something that I covered. I covered it in Nevada, where his former intelligence chief was making similar claims, and I chased him down.
Hey, Rick Grenell, we're live on MSNBC right now. Can you talk about the evidence? You're claiming thousands of illegitimate votes here in Nevada. What's the evidence?
You should go in and ask the question of the clerk.
No.
Which you haven't
done.
You guys
just made the claim. No, in fact, you also said there's no election observers. There's Democratic and Republican election observers inside, Mr. Grenell. Former DNI Grenell, acting DNI. Where's the evidence of the fraud? You haven't presented any evidence of fraud.
Just like it was yesterday. I should tell you the guy who defeated those claims out of Nevada is Mark Elias. And Mark Elias will be joining me in just a moment right here. But Trump's campaign against mail-in voting has been a centerpiece of this campaign. In fact, he has been crusading against mail-in balloting since the pandemic.
They're using COVID to try and get the mail-in ballots. You'll never know who won that state. It'll get messed up just like New York and just like Paterson, New Jersey, and just like many other places. We just don't want cheating in our elections. And you see it happening in California. Those numbers are coming down rapidly. They found a lot of mail-in ballots last night, shockingly.
Not shockingly. Donald Trump finds mail-in ballots very suspicious, but of course, not when they come from him.
Tell me about mail-in ballots. Go ahead. You mean I used a mail-in ballot? You probably said, yeah, I did.
Why did
you know what? Because I'm president of the United States, and because of the fact that I'm president of the United States, I did a mail-in ballot for elections that took place in Florida.
Here's the thing. A lot of Republicans and Democrats vote by mail. But Trump and Republicans know that mail voters are disproportionately first-timers and young voters and voters who move around. Minorities, too. All groups that tend to vote for Democrats in greater numbers. And this is why the Republican leadership of Mississippi essentially allowed themselves to be sued by the Republican National Committee to stop counting the state's mail ballots on Election Day, leaving many valid ballots uncounted. Both sides hoped that the conservative Supreme Court would affirm that practice. But today, in a surprise ruling, the High Court refused to play along. The justices ruled 5-4 against Republicans, allowing mail-in ballots that arrive after Election Day to be counted as long as they are postmarked by Election Day. That had long been the law in 30 states, plus here in the District of Columbia. It is exactly the way it works when you pay your taxes, when you pay most bills. You send it on the due date or by the due date. It may arrive later, but the postmark is what counts. Despite all of Trump's arguments, the Supreme Court today said, nope, mail-in ballots are normal and mail-in ballots are legal, and the federal government has no space to interfere here. And that came in a ruling written by conservative Justice Amy Coney Barrett and joined by Chief Justice John Roberts and the court's 3 liberal justices. Needless to say, Donald Trump, he has not taken that news well. He called the decision a tremendous loss today. Republicans have been targeted and targeting mail-in votes since before the 2020 election. And today, for the moment at least, they have failed in that effort.